Hey guys, it's Josh, and welcome back to another episode of The Grave, the podcast where I talk to friends, family, and even strangers about their paranormal experiences. And you'll have to excuse me, this episode I do seem to have a bit of a cold. Working through that, but the show must go on. Today I'm talking to my friend Kevin Notine. Kevin and I grew up in the same hometown together. We pretty much spent our entire schooling careers together, up until college at least. We're on the same Little League baseball team. We're in the same friend group, so Kevin and I go way back. When I was initially building out the guest list for the first run of this podcast, Kevin's name was actually pretty high up there. Kevin used to live in a area of our hometown that was kind of notorious for having some sort of haunted happenings going on, and it didn't matter if it was my friends, my brother's friends, my sister's friends, my parents' friends, any association we had with that part of town. It's called North Cove. It just carried a connotation with something paranormal happening there. And some of the things that Kevin told me as kids, just kind of in passing, offhandedly, were so wild and almost unbelievable that his stories just made my jaw drop. And I do hope that they will make yours drop as well. So without further ado, I give you Kevin. And sorry guys, you'll have to forgive some of the audio on this. We kind of did a little guerrilla recording session, so it can be a little tough in parts.
Oh, there we go.
What up?
Hey.
So I'm in my buddy's garage right now. I hope that's okay.
Wherever you're most comfortable. I don't care.
It's quiet out here, so I think that's right, B.
Yeah, no, that works. I'd love to start when you're your youngest memories. And like I said, if you have your mom's stories, that would be awesome as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can paraphrase her stuff. It's, she was like, oh, maybe I can tell my stories, but she's kind of out there. So, and I'm not home right now, but maybe a follow-up interview with her.
Yeah, that's fine. Cool. So yeah, just jump right into it.
Well, I guess I'll start with my name, where I'm from. My name's Kevin Notine. I moved to Old Saybrook, Connecticut, January of 1995 with my folks. We moved to a house in the North Cove area of Old Saybrook. I don't know if most people probably aren't familiar with that, but there was a lot of history down there, being close to Fort Saybrook, and where Yale had their first campus and all that. So from my knowledge, I believe a lot of European settlers kind of came and set up camp there, which kind of, I think, correlates to some of my experiences with the paranormal at my house.
Is there any truth to there being Native American burial grounds or anything there?
I mean, that's what I've been told. I haven't followed up with a ton of research, but I will say that one of my old neighbors, who's a good friend of my parents, he was an elderly man. He was probably in his 80s when we first moved there, but he had lived in the area for 40 or 50 years, and he had a really extensive collection of arrowheads he found around North Cove and in his property. So yeah, I would have to imagine that there was definitely Native Americans living in the area at some point.
Okay, cool.
So we moved there, like I said, it was winter of 95. And I guess I'll start with this. So we had a family dog, a black lab, who at the time was, 8 or 9 years old. Always acted very normal, was regular old dog. But when we moved to Saybrook, he refused to go in the house, the new home. So we always found that kind of bizarre. We kind of chalked it up to him maybe just not being used to a new environment. But because obviously we didn't know that what was to come in that new house, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. How could you?
Yeah. So when we moved to the house, my parents were doing renovations, and we had painters painting the interior of the house. And the back bedroom, actually, they were stripping the walls and stuff, and it was very bizarre. We never met the previous owners there, but one of the back bedrooms was covered in black spray paint and very strange satanic
symbols,
symbols and drawings and spray paint, which we always thought was bizarre, but still at this point we hadn't had any experiences with any paranormal stuff. So
you just painted over it. We're well, good luck.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't really think much of it. And the house, I'll also say this. So the house was built in 1986. So it wasn't like an old home or anything. I would say we lived there probably a year and a half, 2 years before I experienced anything. And at the time, like I said, I moved when I was 5. So probably around 7, maybe 8 years old, was my first experience with an apparition, or what I thought was a ghost. It was around dinner time, and my mom asked me to go to the basement to grab some cans of soup. So I went downstairs, and when I turned the corner coming off the stairs, kind of in the back corner underneath the stairs, I saw a Native American figure in a full head dress, leather, beads, all sorts of stuff. And I kind of just froze. Like my whole body went like into paralysis. Like really couldn't move. I was so terrified.
Sure.
And after a few seconds, I ran upstairs and told my mom. And this really, what she told me kind of shaped my belief of ghosts from then on. For the next few years, she told me that sometimes your mind plays tricks on you, and that odds are there was no ghost, whatever. But
motherly advice.
Yeah. But in my mind, I was like, well, I saw what I saw. I know that thing was there. I know that thing was there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been so terrified.
Was it full? Like, was it transparent, or was it like a full?
Like it didn't look like a solid human body in front of me, but it was an adult male for sure. And he probably stood like 6 feet tall, but I could tell that it wasn't a person in my house, like, in my basement.
Like happened. Right.
Yeah. It was a person, but it wasn't a real human being.
Fair.
So, I just chalked it up after that. I was like, my mom must be right. Your mind plays tricks on you. I don't know why my mind would put a ghost in front of me like that, but whatever. So that was my first experience with an apparition in the house.
Yeah.
And so from there, I guess I would say probably another year after that, I was in bed in that back bedroom that had the satanic, icons in it prior to being painted. And it was the middle of the night, and somebody woke up to use the bathroom, and I woke up. My mother or father, I don't know who it was. I heard them go back to bed, but I was up for like another hour in my bed. I couldn't fall back asleep. And I looked over, and in the doorway was a similar apparition. It wasn't in Native American this time. It was like a very, almost like glowing figure.
Like angelic, or?
Yes. Very much so, kind of, but with a very sinister face. Like just staring me right in the eyes.
How confusing.
Yeah. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, my mind must be playing tricks on me. That's what happens, I guess.
So mom said, yeah.
And that's what mom told me. So I covered my head with my covers and didn't sleep the rest of the night, and didn't come out from under there because I was terrified. So yeah, that was my second actual visual connection with one of these things.
That's wild, because too, it's not like you just you kept seeing Indians. It was like there's a man in pajamas, and then there's
yeah. And then I've told this story before. People are like, "Well, it was probably your mom or dad." And I was like, "No, it certainly was not."
They don't usually emit a heavenly light,
right? And it was pitch black in the house, so the fact that I could see him, it was like he was illuminated almost. So, yeah, I mean that was super creepy for me. But again, like I said, my mom had taught me that your mind can play tricks. So I lived with that whole mentality for the next 5 years or so, that every time something happened, it was just my mind.
Right. Just like it's just me.
Which was pretty unnerving for a young kid, because I wasn't sure if I was crazy. None of my friends had any of these stories. So I was like, man, I wonder if my mind is, doesn't work right.
Losing it.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say my next experience after the apparition was my parents were walking the dog around North Cove, and I was home alone doing my homework kind of in the den, and the door to the basement was right behind me, like 3 feet behind my back. And I was sitting there just doing my homework, and I heard the doorknob to the basement start rattling. just kind of gently. No windows open, no drafts. So I was like, that doesn't seem normal. There shouldn't be any wind or anything down in the basement. So again, I kind of froze up at the table, and then the door started rattling much harder, kind of more aggressively.
Yeah.
And then within probably 10 seconds, the door, there was just a pounding, like somebody was punching the door. And I was home alone. Yeah. The door never opened, but it sounded like, somebody was like locked in the basement trying to get out, kind of thing.
Did you like run away?
Yeah. No. So I stood up and I sprinted out of the house, went and found my parents walking the dog down the street, totally out of breath, probably white as a ghost, no pun intended, just terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at that point, I legitimately thought maybe there was a robber in the house or something, but
right, another human being.
Yeah. And that was the one time it was kind of like a malicious thing. It wasn't my toys. Like, it was like they were trying to really scare me.
Right.
So from there, I guess, I moved out of that house going into 6th grade. So we were there about 6 years. And after those things happened, just really kind of small inconsistencies started happening. They involved my toys and what almost seemed like pranks towards us. And that's when my mom kind of started experiencing this stuff too, which I will say she never told me about her experiences until we moved into a new house, where she finally said, just so you know, the whole mind playing tricks on you thing, I don't want you to think you're crazy, but I didn't want you to be scared while you're living there.
Well,
so she admitted that she
safe,
had similar, she admitted similar experiences herself once we had moved out of that house, but she didn't want me living there in fear.
Right.
So, which was nice of her.
Yeah. Too kind.
But yeah, and a lot of it happened or kind of centered in our basement, which is where I saw the first apparition.
Yeah.
So my mother, she is convinced that a lot of the spirits there were children, because like I said, they were playing with my toys quite a bit. My mom used to always hear stuff in the basement in the middle of the night. Like, it would wake her up. I never had this experience actually, but she would hear either things crashing in the basement or just general noise down there. And she would get up, and the second she'd open the basement door, everything would just stop. And she would go investigate, and everything was still in place. There was nothing moved around. So that happened, I would say, several times to her. But the last time it happened, she opened the door and the noise didn't stop. She went down there, and some of my toys were, I think one of my remote control cars might have been driving around the basement.
As they do.
Yeah, right. In the middle of the night. Right. So she would actually talk to them, and she would say, kids, please just don't scare my son. I don't mind that you're here and you're playing with the toys. So she was convinced they were children.
Is there any any historical back? I mean, obviously the settlers and everything like that, but
right.
Is there any history that you know of to the house for any Indians, men?
No. That's what I'm saying. So we, the previous owner, we actually never met. And like I said, the house was built in 1986. So it was only about 10 years old, the house. Yeah. So as far as anything happening in the house, I can't speak to that, but it wasn't like it was an old, 1900 or 1800s or anything like that.
Probably more down to the land or something like that then.
That's what I'm thinking, especially because a lot of what happened was in the basement, which, I mean, this is all speculation, but, how the settlers came, and I don't think they were as nice to the Native Americans as we were taught in school.
Certainly not.
So who knows what actually happened in that area at the time. Yeah. But it is interesting that my first experience was actually an Indian in the basement, and the arrowheads found on the property and all that. Come to find out, after we had moved out of that house, my mom told me that the same thing actually did happen to her when she was home alone, with the basement door, somebody bashing on it.
Really?
Yeah. I got a lot of validation.
It didn't open for her either?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I got a lot of validation from her after we moved out of that house, because I always thought that I was just nuts.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
Right, exactly. From there, my mother has a story, and I'll say this about my father. My father is a skeptic. He's very old school.
Sure.
He admits that all of these things happened, but he won't admit that he believes in the paranormal. Like he doesn't have anything to back up why he doesn't believe, but he will say that these things did happen. He just can't explain what they were.
Okay.
But so one day my mom dropped me off at school, and he was taking a shower when she got home. And when she got there, actually it started with this. So I had French doors. We would always, my dog George, I don't know if you remember George.
Yep.
He'd sleep in my room at night. And from the inside, you had to pull the two doors open. So you'd like push from the outside, pull from the inside. And one morning, my alarm clock didn't go off, and my mom woke me up, and I couldn't find my alarm clock anywhere. And the two French doors were open all the way to the wall, like very wide open.
Sure.
And obviously my dog couldn't pull the doors open, so I knew it wasn't George. And when I found my alarm clock, it was like tucked deep underneath my bed, and it had been unplugged. And so my mom was like, well, maybe you just sleptwalk. And I was like, yeah, that's probably it. Like every excuse.
Remember, Kevin, you're crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I would just go with any excuse that she gave me. But that same day, so that was weird. She took me to school, and when she came back, my father was in the shower, and he always closed the door when he took a shower. She said,
certainly hope so.
She said when she got back, the door to the shower or bathroom was wide open, and she was like, "Why didn't you close the door?" And he said, "Well, I did close the door." So I don't know. They were playing pranks with us with doors that day.
Did your dad like not notice the door had opened? Is he just like
he was just he was just in the shower. He had no idea. He's oblivious.
In his own.
Yeah. So that was kind of strange. The two instances happened that same day.
Same day, yeah.
And it's very soon after that. I don't know if you're familiar with the collectible Hess trucks at Hess gas stations.
I know of them. Yes.
Yeah. So like every Christmas they come out with like a new collectible truck or whatever you can buy.
Yep.
So my dad for a time would collect those every year and thought they'd be worth something one day, I guess. But he would throw them in the back bedroom, which is the bedroom that I saw the glowing apparition. I had since moved out of that room into a different one, but he kept them all in the closet in that back bedroom. And I want to say like this was probably within weeks of the previous incident. My mom heard beeping and thought it was the oil truck backing down our long driveway that we had to fill the oil tank or whatever.
Yeah.
And so she looked outside, there was nothing there, and my dad walked to the back bedroom, and it was the sound of all the Hess trucks and their alarms and stuff going off inside the boxes.
All the Hess trucks, not just like two.
It was multiple. And to my knowledge, I don't even think he ever took the plastic off the boxes. I don't know if they had batteries in them or not. So you can't explain it. And my dad admits that happened, and still, he's like, no, I don't think ghosts are real. I'm like, okay, well, how do you explain anything like that?
Yeah. Where's the proof?
But yeah, right, exactly. So again, going back, it's a lot of it had to do with pranks and my toys and that kind of thing.
Right.
Which is why my mother always thought they were children and would talk to them as children. Many times, actually, not just on one or two occasions, but a lot of times, like I said, my mom would hear stuff in the basement in the middle of the night, but then it started happening like during the day or evening, and we would hear very loud crashes, like a whole shelf got knocked over or something in the basement, and we'd go down and everything was perfectly intact. So, just very, very strange stuff that we had no explanation for. And I'm not sure if you remember John Conroy.
Certainly do.
Yes. So he lived down the road from me in North Cove. Yeah. He lived down the road from me in North Cove. And I remember going to his house one day and telling some of these stories to his mother. And she was the one that actually said, oh, well, that makes perfect sense. A lot of North Cove is on some sort of burial ground.
Hmm.
I don't know where she got her information from, but I remember her specifically telling me that, which also at the time, like when I told her that, I was like, well, my mom just said my mind plays tricks on me, and she just laughed and was like, no, I think there's some truth to this.
You're not crazy.
Which opened up a whole nother, realm in my mind that I started questioning my mom. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not nuts, maybe, or, I don't know. It was a very, very strange time for me because I just didn't know who to believe or what to believe. We moved out of there the summer going into 6th grade. And I remember moving to the new house down by St. John's School in Old Saybrook. And I really didn't want to move because I had friends in North Cove and stuff. But I'll never forget the first few nights in that house, the new house.
Yeah.
I just felt, I don't know, it was like a feeling of like peace. Like, I didn't feel nervous walking around at night or going into the basement and looking over my shoulder. It was like, but I had grown up, I guess, with this feeling in the old house, the haunted house. Yeah. So I didn't really know what it felt like to not be kind of nervous, scared. I guess. Yeah. So when I moved into the new house, it was like, kind of like an epiphany, like, oh, wow, I can definitely feel it's a different energy here. Which also kind of explained why my dog wouldn't go in the old house. He probably definitely felt it.
Yep. Like, no way, guys.
Yeah. So that was, and then my mom told me that she had these experiences too. And I was like, wow, the energy in this place is just much less tense in a way, and noticeably.
And I'm assuming no experiences in that new house?
No. I mean, honestly, I haven't had any real life experiences with ghosts personally since then.
So it was so you moved out of that house when you were what, like 10, 11?
Yeah. So it was the summer going into 6th grade.
Okay.
So I guess 10 or 11. And my parents actually did sell the house to another family in town. And the girl, she was a couple years older than us, but she, after like a year or so, came up to me one day and asked if anything strange had ever happened to me when I lived there. and I just kind of giggled. I was like, why, what's going on? and she told me that she had some stuff in the basement, and I guess she had a big bin of sidewalk chalk, like from when she was younger.
Yeah.
And she went down one day to do the laundry, and when she got there, the box of chalk, the lid was taken off, and there were like a few stick figures drawn on the walls.
Oh man.
Yeah. And the second she said that, I was like, oh yeah, no, those are just the kids down there. They used to play with my toys too.
Don't worry about that.
And she was like, so stuff happened? I was like, yeah, but it was mostly in the basement, mostly with my toys. They seemed pretty harmless. And I believe she might have like gotten her friends together and done like a Ouija board or something. I don't know.
Oh,
but I thought that was, because she didn't know any of my stories, and her experience kind of added up to exactly what I had been through. So that was pretty interesting. But yeah, I don't know. It's really cool how you can almost sense it. You can feel when there's an uneasy.
Yeah, something's off.
Yeah, and I feel like that kind of stuck with me. Like I'll tell you this. Recently, I was up in Maine, planning on moving up there actually, and my friend had rented a house. It was a farmhouse from 1905, and in the sticks. Like I think the population of the town was like 150.
Oh, nice. Middle of nowhere.
Yeah, way up there. Yeah, and it was an old farmhouse, and it was kind of dilapidated. It probably should be condemned and rebuilt or something, but. So he's like giving me the tour, and I'm just looking around, and jokingly, I was like, what is this place haunted also? And he just looked at me and he was like, oh, big time.
Oh yeah.
Because I kind of felt uneasy right when I walked in, and I was like, I didn't know if that was nerves. Like I didn't really want to move up there. Yeah. But he's like, yeah, things happen almost on a daily basis here. when you're sitting downstairs in the living room watching TV, you can hear people running around upstairs, footsteps all the time. They have a lot, like their cabinets open up by themselves and slam shut.
Oh, like poltergeist stuff. That's
yeah. So they were a little bit more malicious or angry, it seemed, than the ghosts I dealt with. And he told me the previous roommate that lived there, his name was Harry. I guess the ghost really didn't like Harry and kind of would torture this guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was kind of the butt of the joke, I guess, for them. They would always be slamming his bedroom doors and closets and things like that.
Oh, he really got the worst of it.
Yeah, right, exactly. But to my point, the second I walked in that house, I say I was joking when I asked if it was haunted, but again, I had a weird feeling. Like I didn't want to be alone in rooms of the house and stuff like that. And yeah, the energy was just not right.
Sure.
And so to finish the story, so there was a Walmart like 35 minutes away. That was the closest store to like grocery shop at and all that. So we went down there to get supplies and stuff for the week. And while we were in line to check out, he and I were kind of talking about a ghost that was in the house. And this elderly cashier overheard us and said, "Oh, do you have a ghost problem?" And we were like, "Yeah, actually, apparently the house we're living in is pretty haunted." And this is, mind you, 30 miles away from our house.
Yeah.
And we let her know that, yeah, we were up in whatever town. And she was like, "Oh, which house is it up there?" Because there were so few people. I guess everybody
she knew exactly which
one. She knew which house. And he was like, "Yeah, it's the old Smith farmhouse." And she just looks at us and goes, "Oh yeah, no, I know that's haunted. That's been haunted a long time." And I was like, even this random grocery clerk 30 miles away knows about how haunted this place is. I was like, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for me.
What do you know for me, dog?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was only a couple months ago. So that was pretty recent. But I am certainly a firm believer that there are spirits in the afterlife that kind of intermingle with, human beings and the living.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. From my experience. But like I said, maybe my mind's just playing tricks on me. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe you're just crazy still.
Yeah, exactly. They're out there. I believe it.
So those were Kevin's stories. As always, I hope you enjoyed them. I hope they made you feel some way, because I know personally that they creep me the hell out, especially the stick figures on the wall. For some reason, it's just too much. I want to thank Kevin and actually all my guests who have so willingly volunteered their time for this podcast, without whom I would not have a podcast. So again, big thanks to everyone who has contributed thus far and who will contribute in the future. This is the midway point of our first season, and we will be taking a 2-week hiatus for the Thanksgiving holiday, but we will be back with episode 6 on December 8th, which just so happens to be my birthday. And as always, I'm your host, Josh King, and I hope to have you all back for some more scary stories.